I used to have a lot of nightmares at night. And I've realized I've kind of, talked this over with a few medical professionals, including the GP, a few weeks ago, where I realized the nightmares I was getting were really my body saying, or my mind saying, wake up, move position, because you're in pain, you're pulling something.
I'm so intrigued by that because I had recurring nightmares as a child and I sleep super deeply and my neck pain would get so much worse when I slept deeply and didn't move. And I would force myself to like wake up because I was scared. So I'd make myself scream in the nightmare, but that would rouse me enough to like change body position. Lorraine, you've blown my mind.
This is like seriously,
Yeah.
this has been real big moment for me because I would have horrendous
Yeah.
nightmares. There was one particular, and you've actually treated this particular point, this point in the back of my shoulder blade, and I would have horrific nightmares of, being attacked
Yeah.
and, people really hurting me
Yeah.
and me screaming and not being like paralysis
Yeah,
and
it's
not
the
being
same.
able to scream
Yeah.
and not be able to wake up. And ever since I've started propping myself up with pillows, ever since I started paying attention to that, I don't have those scary nightmares.
Hey, I'm hypermobile, and if you're listening to this, I'm guessing you might be too. Hi, my name is Alex, and I'm your hypermobile host. And today we have on the incredible Lorraine Ansell. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, that is cool.
Phew, I'm happy I got that right. Lorraine, how do I even describe you? You are an author. I would say you're an advocate. I don't know if I can use that label. And you're just like a super cool person. And yeah, tell me a bit more about you.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you very much for that,
Yeah.
Alex. That's a great intro. I would say that I am the generalist. A
Okay.
curious, creative generalist, author, speaker, advocate. Generally, just look at everything and go, huh,
Yeah.
is that right? Or is that a bit different?
A lot of people call themselves creators, but and again, I think that term gets used a bit too much, but you really are a creator. Whether you're engaging with art, with, your book that you've written, which we'll get to in a second, everything that you're doing is just incredible in terms of bringing attention to what it's really like to be someone who's living with hEDS or HSD. And I can't remember what your exact diagnosis is, because I have to say as well, and we've talked about this in advance, you have been my patient previously as well.
Yes.
I haven't seen you in something like 3 years at this point. I know it feels like it was last week, but forgive me, what is your diagnosis?
So yes, I was diagnosed officially with hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome in, I think it was 2022. And I say this because in 2021 I broke my foot, so that's how I always remember. So I'm just like going through the ages. But yes, so this was when I was in my early 40s. And this is a real big reason why I talk about it now, because I lived 40 odd years with stuff going on with my body. And I really thought this was normal. And I thought, this can't be normal. This cannot be normal. And it was thanks to TikTok and mostly following your accounts. I know, all over TikTok. But I was like, oh my goodness, so many people are reporting the same stories as me.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm bruising easily. I'm tired for no real reason. I'm in pain. It's not normal. And it wasn't. And that led me to getting the confidence to write to my GP, who then sent me to the rheumatologist, who basically said, yeah.
Yeah, it's so Lorraine, you won't believe this as well, or maybe you will, but I now have my diagnosis too. So,
Yay!
so I didn't go quite as long as you in your case, but I've known patients who haven't even been diagnosed till in their 60s or plus, and it's really difficult having that period of your life where you're not sure what's going on, or you're being told you're too sensitive, or it's in your head, and then of course there are challenges that come with the diagnosis, like is it going to ever get better, or how do I live with this? So it is a difficult situation, no matter which way you slice it. But when it comes to thinking about that situation, you wrote this book in Lorraine Pink. I forgot when I introduced you. So I know that Pantone hasn't made this official, but there is a color that is Lorraine Pink in my eyes, because when I would see you as a patient, you always had this pink scarf. We now have the pink cat scarf, which is version 2 of the Lorraine Pink scarf, which I love. And the pink shade is almost the exact same, but it was this very specific shade of pink, which will forever in my mind be Lorraine Pink. But you wrote this book about your experience dealing with all of this. It's really it's a very personal journey. Tell me about what inspired you to write this.
So I had gone to the rheumatologist, got my diagnosis, and I felt vindicated. Because I said, I knew it.
You were right.
I was right. I was right. I knew something was off. I knew it just wasn't normal. My blood tests were normal. My hormone levels were normal. Years and years of testing, normal. But I knew something wasn't right. It just couldn't be. It couldn't be. The amount of times that I have had to go to the dentist or the opticians, all of this stuff. And I got my diagnosis, and that's why I kind of like cheered when you had your diagnosis. But it's also a weird cheer because I'm like, yay! I'm sorry.
People never know what to say.
No,
Sorry, I should always
exactly.
I should actually like preface myself
Exactly.
just like I got my diagnosis. It's like no, for me it's funny because I've known for ages, right? Like this is my work, this is my career. I held off on it just for a variety of reasons. We'll talk about that more in another episode. But these things cost money and take time as well, right? So that's just like just for those reasons. And I thought because I knew what I was probably going to be diagnosed with, right? But I thought it wouldn't affect me, but I have to say it did. I was surprised at the emotional component of my diagnostic journey experience because I look at the criteria every day, talk about with patients, try and help them navigate this journey. And I thought it was just too cool. I was like, whatevs, I already know what's going on. And then to be told like, this is what you have, this is official, and now to know what applies to me and what doesn't, and I can advocate for myself. It's really, it hits you a little bit deep. It stirs up some feelings. And I'm not good with feelings. maybe that's why I held off on getting a diagnosis. I don't know, but I don't like feeling things deeply. But your book, you wrote it, and I got a copy, and it just came into my life like this really bright pink, like loud, I don't know, almost like I don't want to say chihuahua. I like chihuahuas though, but it's like a big puppy. It just like came up to me and it was like, Alex, we're going to feel things. And I didn't like that at first, I'm gonna be honest. And I told you this before we did this episode. Like I was like, what is this? Like I have to love pain. Like I don't want to love pain. Like what is this? But your book really takes the reader on this journey. Can you tell me a little bit about your pain persona? You talk about that in the book. Introduce us to your pain.
So yeah, when I wrote the Surrender Agenda, I had started it as a journal because I was on that journey of I've got this diagnosis, which is wonderful, yay, but what do I do now? That was what was in my head. And I thought back and I thought, you know what, I'll just write because I love to write. And I started to write about my journey, my history, because I wanted to learn more about pain. Now, I didn't know much about pain because I'd always been told to get on with it, or you're not in pain, or just carry on. And for me, pain was this big mystery. Pain was this alien thing that we are not allowed to talk about. We are, as a woman, especially in the workplace, if you're on your period, if you have any type of pain, perimenopause, pregnancy, I worked in lots of offices with people and we just don't talk about it. We just don't talk about it. We just, it's a quiet thing that you get on with in the toilet usually, and you go home and you deal with it there. So in my head, pain was this really alien concept, which sounds strange, but it really was. And that's what the journaling was doing for me. It was introducing me to pain. And I thought, you know what? I've tried to hide from pain. I've tried to distance myself from pain. I've tried to distract myself from pain. What if I face it face on? This is not easy. It's really not easy. It's
uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable and it brings a lot up because it's not just about your physical pain, as I've started to learn, but there's more to it. There is an emotional component to it, particularly in my case and my experience, which I only realized as I was writing it. And so I started writing it and I thought to myself, so I have a cat who I love and she's cute and she's small and she's a diva.
What's her name?
Her name is Dink. She's
Love
a little Dink, and she's cute and she's 14 and a half years old, and she's sassy. She really is sassy. And I started to look at her a little bit like how pain works for me, because she will bother me I will be sitting down or I'll be on the sofa and she'll start to bother me. She'll be sleeping for like 12 hours a day, but then she'll bother me. And I was like, oh, what if I treat pain that way? Because pain is effectively a signal. It's a mechanism to say that something's not right. Maybe you should do something about it. And I thought, what if I start to treat pain like that? And I give it a persona and I make it cute, because my cat is cute.
Yep.
She's so cute.
What does she look like?
She's small and little and black with a little tuft of white hair, and she's got white little.
What color is
like,
her nose?
Toes. Her nose is black, but she has like white, pink toe beans.
And her eyes?
And her eyes are like slightly emerald.
Oh.
So I also used to read a lot of Nancy Drew when I was younger. And there is an episode in the book, there's the emerald-eyed cat mystery.
Oh.
And I still have that book because like I have the cat now. So I started to realize that pain would be like a cat for me, you know, is going to be cute and sassy, and then perhaps would be a little bit more bossy, and then would start patting at me, and then maybe just, you know, yell in my ear continually until they wanted to be fed. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
So that kind of gave me this idea of to treat pain as that sort of creature, which is very cute and fluffy, but is still a wild animal at heart.
They think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Never forget that. Never
Absolutely.
forget that. So I'm like, yeah, I have to give time and presence to this creature, this persona. Yeah. And so I do check in a lot, and I'm like, you know, how is them? How are they? What's going on? How are you? You know, I start talking to them. You know, out loud.
Of course.
Of course.
What other way would you do
Exactly.
it?
And also, having done a lot of somatic therapy stuff, I've also realized that, yeah, you can hold yourself, you can move yourself, you can rock, and that soothes you. Yeah. And that, for me, has been really important along this journey, to really take pain as, you know, when they say, oh, what would you say to a friend? What would you do to, you know, if this was the same thing happening to a friend? And a lot of the time you would say lovely things and gentle things. And I thought, you know what? That's what we have to do. I have to do this. I have to be gentle to myself. Yeah. You know, even coming here, I took 2 days off, pacing myself to not do anything so that I could get up here and I can do this and I can get home.
Well, thank you for making the journey.
No, thank you for inviting me. But, you know, that's when you realize that you are accepting your pain and loving your pain, because you're loving yourself within that whole equation.
And just acknowledging that you have different needs. I think it's hard to be different. It's interesting. I do see a lot of patients in their 20s, and it does seem like there's kind of a different degree of acceptance now around disability or having different needs. But I know certainly for people kind of my age, I'm 33 if anyone's wondering, or for you in your 40s, there was a lot more stigmatism, I think, certainly. And it's really hard to kind of shed those pressures of, you know, that kind of ableist voice of being like, no, I should be able to do this, or I have to do this. It's really, really difficult. As a cat owner myself, I have to say, cat owner sounds wrong. As a person who cohabits,
a person who caters to a fluffy creature, feline. Yes.
I have to say as well, the cat analogy really works for me, because cats, yes, sometimes they'll come to you when they need to be fed, but they'll also mess with you just because.
Just because, right?
Just because.
Exactly. I mean, they'll look at their food and say, no.
Yep.
And, you know, pain is like that sometimes. You can do everything. You've identified all your triggers, and you've done all of your coping strategies, and, you know, you're self-soothing, and then you can still be in pain, and you can be like,
yep.
Okay.
So Cleo, that's my cat. She talks with buttons and stuff. Some people are aware of Cleo. But she likes to go and yodel in the bathroom. So she'll just sit on top of the toilet, just singing. And we don't know why. I think maybe it's because the acoustics are better, but she loves to go in the bathroom. She gets really upset if she's not allowed to sit on the toilet and sing. And sometimes it's like, maybe my neck is just yodeling for a day. Maybe it's just needing to let it out. If we go back to the book, you talk a little bit about like there's a lot of commentary on the kind of the language of chronic illness throughout the book. And again, it is a personal journey, which I love, but it really touches on those points for me. And specifically what comes up is this idea of fighting your pain and having to battle and be a warrior. My mom went through cancer and passed away from that. And I always hated that language because it made me feel like she was, you know, too weak to win the battle against cancer. And it's always been really just icky language for me. How did that language affect you in your journey, you know?
Well, it's really interesting because I've actually just I filmed myself this morning wringing out a flannel, and I'm from a flannel family, but to me that was the first time that I remember being told I was weak because I couldn't wring it out because my wrists and they're just not strong enough, and
Is a flannel like a tea towel, by the way?
Yeah, it's like a washcloth.
Okay,
washcloth.
Sorry.
I call it a flannel.
Me.
Yeah, that's
I know
okay.
I've been here 11 years, but I'm still learning.
And so that was the first time, I was weak. And then at school, I was weak because I really couldn't do sports. Dancing, I loved and I could do really well. But every other sport, I was absolutely rubbish at. Running, forget it, absolutely awful. And so then you start to kind of segment yourself into this, you're picked last at sports. You suddenly, the trope, the stereotypes come through. And then you're thinking, oh, okay. And then you're told, oh, you're dismissed a lot. It's not visible. A lot of times it's not visible. I would be hurting. Something would hurt. An ankle, a leg, a shoulder, a knee, a hip, something. And it would always be, oh, just get over yourself, or just carry on.
Or you look fine.
Or
So
you look
I
fine.
literally had someone here yesterday, we were doing an episode, and she was told you look fine, and she was saying how upsetting that was to her because she does not feel fine.
No. And I still get messages from people saying, how are you feeling today? If I've had a flare up or something. And I'm like, that's wonderful, they remember, but a flare up is like when you hit an 8, 9, 10 or above. But my baseline is always going to be a 4 or 5, So I every day I'm not fine. I'm not fine.
I have to say it's kind of funny. So one thing that really helped me since kind of going on my journey was connecting with people like you in this community. And with a lot of my friends who do happen to also have chronic illnesses, it's wonderful just being able to be so real with them. And often I will not ask them how they're feeling. It's not because I don't care, I really do, but because I know they're probably not feeling great. And it's kind of just this really direct communication that I find works really well. Do you find that happens with your friend groups?
Absolutely. I have to say the community of EDS or, zebras, I have absolutely loved because you can just cut out all the small talk.
Yeah.
Cut out absolutely everything which it doesn't serve you really and just get to the point. And you know that they know. Yep. They just get it. Like I can say to someone, my tummy has not been happy. That they know what code that is. They know how painful that is. They know how long you've had to spend looking after yourself. Yeah. Or, you're like, oh, I've taped my neck up. Okay, yeah. We understand, right? We understand that has mean you are really, really in pain or something's happened. And I think that for me has been very freeing. There's been a liberation in that because usually when you're told, oh, how are you? You say, oh, I'm fine. And that's a very, that's that social conversation.
It's such an English thing too, I have to say. So when I first moved to this country, people kept asking me, how are you? And where I'm from, I don't know if this is true for all of Canada, okay? But I'm from London, Ontario, so not the biggest, kind of a small city, right? When people would ask you how are you? They actually wanted to know how you were. So I would answer when I first came here, people would say, how are you? I'd be like, well, I didn't sleep well last night, or my tummy's not feeling good. I would actually give them an answer. The truth is they didn't care. They just wanted to know, how are you? I'm fine and you. When I learned the phrase I'm fine and you, it really made things make sense for me, because prior to that, I was even telling, my friends at the time, I'd say why is everyone asking me if I'm, how I am? Do I look sick? Am I what is causing this type of questioning? So no, it's such a difficult question, but such a frequently used question. Totally. And certainly just having those friends where you can just be direct is I think they're gold dust. They're my treasured friends.
Absolutely. And it just helps so much to express yourself very authentically to another person. And how are you? Well, I had a migraine all last night, And it's awful. It's horrible. But at the same time, it's wonderful that you can then express it because, often what I've said, a lot of people want to give solution.
Yep.
And one of the hardest parts that I've learned on this journey, and when I had my diagnosis, was there is no solution here.
Yeah.
There's really only management. And it looks very different for all of us. And I often will not give a solution to someone in this community unless they sort of ask really directly. Like somebody will ask, oh, what can I do for my wrists? And I said, oh, have you thought of taping? You know, and then I think back to your stuff that you talk about taping and the 2-way stretch, the 4-way stretch, and, you know, and you start to build up a picture, don't you, of how to help other people, but only in kind of a supportive way.
Yeah, no, there's such a time and place to do it. And no, I think absolutely, like, for some people who really do want that information, certainly like these accessible, I'm all about low cost solutions as well, or little strategies. Because when I had the worst symptoms, I had no money. I was a student. So I just needed things to do to kind of hold me together. And I think that those can certainly help. And also too, knowing when to just like, you know, and it's this kind of very nuanced behavior that only comes when you've been really in this community for a while. But knowing when you have that friend where they're like, I have a migraine, and you send them a funny gif. I feel like chronic illness friends send chronic illness friends like the best gifts.
The best gifts.
I feel like that's what I recommend you do. Send me some gifts. Anyways, getting back to the book, you talk about in the book a trauma tiara, which I love it because it's so. I'm extra inside, so I know I'm wearing like my very modern my hoodie and like, you know, trying to be a bit cool, but we all know I'm not. And inside I'm like very extra. Okay, but you are openly very extra, which I love. And you brought some tiaras and talk about the trauma tiara in the book. Can you tell me a little bit about kind of that motif and how that came up for you?
Yeah, exactly. I called it the trauma tiara because what I had seen is that part of this whole pain and what pain is and what pain isn't, and it's just such a complicated mechanism that, yes, I feel personally there has been an impact from life experiences that we have. You know, to me, some of them were much bigger, and I have a very complicated journey to be in the UK, let's say. And I feel that every point along the way, there have been key experiences where actually have really left me, I would say, with trauma, with a lot of things to deal with, and it's not easy. And I suddenly realized that yes, some of these things were quite deep and really, really personal, but they were also there for me as a way to say, okay, these are things that I would have normally been ashamed of, things that I had been told by society to be ashamed of, or things by the media to be ashamed of, or something like that. So I decided, well, fine, I'm going to cover some of the bigger ones because I think these are really important for me in my journey and what I was trying to process in terms of pain. So I came up with this whole trauma tiara idea where instead of being ashamed by the traumas, and one of my big traumas is my sight, which we'll talk about, but that has been a really big one for me. And I thought, you know what, I don't want to be ashamed of it anymore. It is a thing. It is important to talk about. And that's what really made me start talking a lot about eyes, in particular with EDS, on my social media, because it had been such a huge impact on me. And then I realized it had been a huge impact all of my life. So I felt that the only way to celebrate it, which I know is an odd word to choose, but I don't want it to be a place where I think back and I think dreadfully of it. It was traumatic for me, but I want to, what can I take from it that is joyous and celebratory? And for me, it helped me see things clearly. So that is what I carry with me from that experience. So I felt, I know I would love to make an actual tiara from all of the experiences and bedazzle the tiara with all of those life things that happened to me. And, you know, where are my pearls of pain? Where are my, like, I have all sorts of things, but, you know.
Generational garnet.
My
sapphire.
sight sapphire, you know, and I'm just like, you know, I grew up wanting to play with all of these things, and I thought, let's make one. Let's make. That's what I did it in the book. I made one in my head, but, you know, today we actually have real ones that we can make later on.
We're making them now.
Oh, we're going to make them now.
I'm going to do a medical disclaimer real quick. I'm so bad for this. Well, it will always be in the description, okay? But look, the first couple episodes of this podcast, I was being, very like kind of scientific research based. Again, we're keeping that theme going this season, but we're talking a lot more about experiences and people's, personal journeys. Although we do have some expert episodes where experts come on to talk about research. But as with every episode I do, whether we have an expert on or whether we're just making trauma tiaras and talking about personal experiences, none of this is medical advice. Please speak to your appropriately qualified healthcare provider for medical advice that is correct for you. Anyways, let's get back to making the tiaras. So, Lorraine, what is your color season? Which one?
I think I'll go for silver.
Silver. I was going to say, because I think I'm more of a gold person.
I think you are more of a gold.
So, you're going to have silver.
Fabulous.
Thank you. Winter?
My winter, I'm not sure. I don't know. I like all colours. So I don't like pastels.
Okay. Because you look so vibrant in like jewel tones, I would say.
Yeah, jewel tones.
Yeah, because the high saturation. So I've learned about saturation and chroma. When I get stressed about hypermobility, hEDS, whatever, my work, my everything, my obsession, whatever I research all the time, right? I like to go look at the color season videos on social media because they're very calming.
They are calming.
Yeah. I don't know what my color season is. If anyone is watching this and wants to tell me what they think, we've looked at summers, like I don't know, soft summer, and then like a spring. I think Hannah will be on the podcast in another episode. She's very much team spring. We will see what happens.
Okay, well that's cool.
But
yeah,
gold is the right color, regardless of where I land. It's gold, and silver is the right color for you. So we've got this correct. Shall we get straight into eyes? Because you and I have talked about eyes before. I've had you come on the Discord, which is a community I run where we talk about, experience stuff sometimes. Is it on correct?
That's quite good. I like it. It's mine on correct. I didn't even ask. I just plonked it on.
I can't even see this. I'm actually going to check this. Hang on. Yours looks, you're really good. No, you are natural. I know that mine will be, this is
yeah, that's better. I mean, this is the thing. Maybe we have a trauma tiara pajama party, right? Where everyone comes around and we just,
bedazzle.
We just bedazzle them, and you don't have to share any of it. It's just a fun way to just, I don't know, get creative. I think
smize through the tears.
Exactly.
Have you heard the podcast My Brother and Me? It's one of my favorites, especially the old episodes. Like they're really silly and goofy, and I love it. But there's one episode where they're talking about America's Next Top Model, and for some reason it comes up so smizing is when you smile with your eyes,
right? So
you're not actually smiling, but like your eyes are smiling, which I can't. I'm not a model. We do have a model coming on this season.
Let me try. So what do I do?
You smile, but only with your eyes. So you can try and like smile and then keep your eyes like it. We're going to practice that. We're going to workshop that. But smizing through the tears, I think of that because it's like you're like, things are tough, but you still got that smizing energy. We will smize through the tears.
Exactly.
But talking about eyes, like you brought up earlier, we've talked about eye issues, the two of us. You came on to share your experience. Can you tell people a little bit about your experience with your eyes?
Yes. So ever since I was little, I knew I would have eye issues. And why do I say that? Because I come from a family who generationally have eye issues. And what do I mean by this? Progressive myopia. So this has been a real key in our family. Everyone is pictured black and white photos going back ages of people wearing glasses. And I'm not talking, just very subtle glasses.
With featherweight glasses.
No, we are talking heavy bottle top, thick glasses. And I knew, having accompanied several family members, that this would be my legacy.
It's hard knowledge to have.
It is. Little, yeah. It really is quite hard knowledge. And so I grew up, I eventually did need to have glasses, and I knew because the blackboard, it just looked like artwork at one point.
Like the painting, just like blurs.
Honestly, it did look a little bit like this. And so I was taken to the opticians and said, yes, she needs glasses. And that began the journey of me wearing different frames, different lens prescriptions, and we were on the roll, on the journey. And a key thing is, and this is for anyone who is short-sighted, because this is a short-sighted issue, is that as you get more and more short-sighted, so your power goes negative, so -1 -2, etc., you become more at risk of something called a detached retina.
Yeah.
And I knew this. I knew the signs to look out for. And it was a Tuesday, November morning, 2023, when I woke up and I saw the flashes. Now, there are 3 things to look out when you have a detached retina or suspect you do. 1, the flashes. 2 is floaters, like a cascade of floaters in your eyes. And 3 is the veil or a curtain. So there's a corner of your vision that goes dark. Now, I knew what the flashes were. They're not like sort of nerve flashes that you get if you overstretch or something like that. They are very particular. I, for years, questioned this, but when I got them, I was like, yeah, there's a difference. There's a real difference. They look like intermittent lightning strikes in your eye.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really weird flash. And I thought, I knew what this is. So my husband drove me to A&E. I checked in with the nurse and she hesitated. I remember her hesitating because I knew exactly what this was. So I said, I think I've got a detached retina. She hesitated and she was like, oh, how do you know? I was like, I've got flashes. And how do you know? Like somebody, I'm wearing glasses, they're thick.
Well, and I would say you're one of these people, like I would consider a patient expert, especially on eye issues. Like you are very knowledgeable in that.
Yeah.
Because of partly your family history. It's like in my family, lots of people have Crohn's disease and different things. You get this, when you have a family that has lots of chronic illnesses, you get this inherited knowledge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this was a conversation that we were having at dinner, for example. How are your eyes today?
Merry Christmas.
I know, exactly. It's jolly conversations that you have. But yes, it becomes part of your family.
Your memories.
Glue, your memories. Yeah, exactly. Oh, you've got new glasses. Oh, okay. Well, they've gone down a bit. Oh, you're not as bad as me, or you're not as bad as so and so. It becomes the social conversations that you have. And I knew how serious it can be, and I know that it's not something to be taken for granted or at all lightly, which is why I went immediately. And they knew that I knew. So I saw the doctor. Yeah. I saw the doctor immediately in A&E, probably within an hour. They called up the retinal specialist on call and they just said, can she walk to the eye clinic in the hospital, which was outside. You had to go outside A&E to walk around to enter another building. And by that time, the floaters had cascaded, so my vision was snowy. So it was really snowy, like a matrix snow.
So just to reassure people who are listening, because I know, again, and it's normal when you hear about things to be like, oh my gosh, do I have them? Like, I do that. It happens to everyone. Some people will occasionally have a little floater squiggle in their vision. I even have one that's normal for me. I can kind of see it if I try and focus on it that way. But what you had was so different from your normal that it was pretty obvious.
It was obvious. It was like somebody had just poured a waterfall of squiggles, and they were just falling.
And just to check, it was only affecting one eye.
One
as well,
eye.
Right?
It was my right eye. Who knows why it was the right eye? There is no rhyme or reason for it. It was just the right eye decided to go full diva on me, and it happened. So I went to the eye clinic. Now, the eye clinic is having their day surgeries. They're normal surgeries for people who need to go to the eye clinic. These are people who are diabetic or the glaucoma or, macular clinics. So just normal service for them. They knew I was coming because I come through to the department. They said, are you Lorraine? Have you just come from A&E? Yes. So they were all waiting for me.
Good.
So the nurses got the drops in. So when you go, you have to have atropine drops to effectively make the muscles loose so that don't close, so you can see the back of the eye. Then I saw the ophthalmologist who looked at my eye with the slit lamp machine. Then I waited for the consultant. And I knew, as soon as I went into the consultant's room, I knew. And she said, yes. And we both knew that the other knew before we knew. It was really weird. She looked worried. I was worried. I was in tears. I was crying my eyes out at this point because I knew how serious this is. They waited until clinic happened, and that's when I had my first laser surgery on it. They decided not to do anything invasive because of the EDS. And this is really, really important because they knew I would have issues with tissues, and I feel that they had taken the right choice because I have been in that situation before, having an operation, and things have not turned out great. So for me, when they said we're going to do laser surgery, it will be non-invasive, I was like, yes, thank you. Thank you.
Do you know what the invasive option would have been?
Yes, it would have been, they call it a buckle or a belt surgery, which is effectively kind of like a belt or a buckle. You're kind of trying to close the hole, the rip in the retina. What I didn't know at that moment, and only found out in the third surgery, with the top retinal consultant for the eye clinic, was that the tear was a horseshoe shape, and it was large. And if you have a horseshoe, if it's a normal tear like a rip in paper, that's fine, really easy. Laser it, bish bash bosh, it's done. The trouble with a horseshoe tear, God, it's a hard thing to say. A horseshoe tear is because it almost becomes a full circle. So there are lots of tensions on the tissue. And where do you put the laser? The laser's used to scar the tissue. So that
I was going to ask how the
heals.
laser is working here. So it scars the tissue.
It scars the tissue. And effectively that makes a scaffold. So it holds it in place. But because this was a horseshoe tear, that was tricky, which meant that's why I had in 10 days, I had the surgery 3 times.
Wow. That's a lot.
That was a lot.
Eye surgery is it's hard, really hard psychologically, I would say, more so. Like, I don't know how you found the actual surgical procedure itself.
I got the giggles.
Yeah.
I got the absolute giggles. It was awful. Because you put your head in on a plastic stand, and they do numb the eye, and then it's just like an eye checkup.
Did you have like the 2 hours though where you have to sit and have the drops put in your eyes like every like half hour or whatever?
No, they just put the drops in. I did have the drops twice, which fun fact, if you are a brunette or dark haired, you need more drops of atropine because your eye muscles are stronger.
Well, there we go.
There we go. Because there have been times I've had to have 3 sets of drops because the eyes were just not loose enough to see behind.
So interesting. I did not know that. They're teaching me something new all the time.
Fun fact, that.
So you had the third surgery. How are they now?
So the third surgery was really, really a real experience because the retinal specialist went for it with the laser.
Okay.
It was like I was in some film. It was constant, and we were probably there for a good 20 minutes. 2 sets of laser, just it makes all it is a button, and they've just pressed a button, so all you hear is this and then but you see the flashes in your eye as the laser's going in, and it was a lot, and it just kept going on and on and on, and we had to have a break. And I had a conversation with the retinal specialist who was like, and they said, how are you? And I thought that was an incredible question to ask. And I said, I feel a bit relieved, but also completely overwhelmed. And I'm relieved because this finally has happened. This has been over my head for 40 to 43 years almost, because I've been told it would happen. And it was just a question of when. Question of when. And I have changed my whole life. I wasn't allowed to do contact sports. I was always worried about being hit on the head, falling.
Anything pressure related, scuba diving, being
not allowed
upside
scuba
down.
diving, not allowed to do
like
bungee jumping,
headstands as well.
Headstands, not that I'd have the strength anyway in my neck or my shoulders or anything to do anything like that. But anyway,
you lost out on your bungee jump, your skydiving career.
Exactly. No skydiving or anything like that. And so it's always there at the back of your mind. And yes, you go and live your life and all the rest of it, but it's there at the back of your mind. And I thought, it's happened. It's happened. And we had a really good discussion about that because it's a really hard moment for it to happen because the relief of it finally happening, but then the overwhelming acknowledgement that it has actually happened, and what does that mean for you? Because nobody knows what happens next. After the surgery, the scarring usually takes about 72 hours to kind of form fully, and then they always say about 6 weeks recovery. Personally, it took me over a year.
Okay.
Over a year, emotionally. It was a lot. My depth perception had really struggled, and I was not safe to walk down a pavement because I couldn't see where the pavement ended onto the road.
Yeah. And that's scary
That
for
is
anyone
scary.
who hasn't experienced that. I should say as well, because I'm saying all these things, I'm like, oh, I agree with you and stuff. I haven't talked about my eye issues. We've talked about eye issues. So for people who aren't aware, HEDS and HS, people with HEDS and HSD, and I'm going to say this in vague terms because I don't want to reference a specific study right now, although I've done content on this and I'll put something in the show notes. But there is an increased risk of myopia in HDS and HSD as far as I'm aware. Have you encountered this research or this discussion?
Yes, with the retinal specialist, I said, who needs to look out for this?
Yeah.
And they told me the NICE guideline says anyone who's -6 in terms of short-sightedness or myopia. However, they said anyone who's -4.
Yeah, I swear I've seen -4 somewhere else too. So it's, again, research. I was talking about this with the guest we had on previously. It's difficult when there's not that much research. But if you're someone who has a hardy nearsightedness, -2, I don't think they're at high risk. Again, I'm not an ophthalmologist. I'm not an eye researcher. I'm not a medical doctor. But when you get to numbers like -4, -5, I was -7.5.
Okay.
You are at elevated risk, and that's why hopefully your optician should be starting to do those dilation checks where they put the drops in and then do all these different things. In my case, my vision was just getting worse and worse, and I was getting horrific headaches that would have me in bed for days at a time. And I was told I had my eyes checked, and we actually picked up in a class at university for my osteopathy degree that my eyes were being a bit weird. We were doing all like the different follow the finger checks and reading things. I think it was like one eye's blurry, one's not, like what's going on. And then I was checked by an optician who found I had blood vessels growing where I shouldn't have those happening. So it's called I think it was a pannus. Again, I was like in my early 20s, I don't know. But it can happen in rheumatoid arthritis where you get blood vessels growing where they shouldn't as well. In my case, it was related to inappropriate use of contact lenses because I didn't really understand exactly how careful you need to be with them. And I do think there should be stricter warnings on contact lenses and their usage. And I do wonder if maybe people with HEDS or HSD maybe need further caution or support. Again, I don't know. These are just questions I have. But I ended up being told I could only wear glasses. But the problem with glasses, as you brought up earlier, is they're so heavy. They're actually painful, one. Two, I went from being a relatively active person in my early 20s, albeit dealing with a lot of pain and issues, but like relatively active, to struggling to walk. I fell at the tube station twice because, when you can see through the front, but you can't see through the side. Yeah. And that trying to reconcile the peripheral vision with my forward vision or whatever it's called was really difficult. And it would make me really nauseous as well. So my life was just me sitting at home playing video games because I could look straight ahead and not have to worry about anything. And my life just became smaller and smaller. I ended up having a procedure called implantable collamer lens. Again, I don't know if they do it on me now that I have my diagnosis. I don't know if it's safe for people. Please, again, this is not medical advice, but it's a surgical procedure. It is invasive where they make an incision in your eye and insert the lens into your eye. I have to say, knock on some wood, that it like basically gave me my life back. It saved my quality of life because I now have vision that just it functions. Like it feels weird to say perfect, and I hate when we use that type of language, but I have vision where I don't need corrective lenses.
Wow.
And it coincided with a big improvement in my headaches. And people don't get that headaches can be of a disabling intensity. I would be lying in bed for days at a time with a pillow on my face just waiting for it to end. And people don't get how dark that is when getting up to go to the toilet hurts because your head is throbbing and you're going to be sick, and like you'd rather be dehydrated than have to get up to get a glass of water because of the pain, and you're not eating because of the nausea. Like to have that low of a quality of life, and then to have my eyes kind of be one of the things that was really playing such a big role. It's why I'm so passionate about eye issues, okay?
Yeah.
And the fear, of course, the trauma is still there because I'm terrified that my eyes will cease to function. Actually, we had a guest on, we were talking about pregnancy, and I'm actually really nervous that if I ever was pregnant, it could change my vision, because I am a very carefully held together, duct taped together human. And I think that would be the same for you in some ways. And it's hard when you work so hard and do so many things, and maybe even you're just a bit lucky, but you get to this point where some things are kind of functional, and the fear of that ceasing to function, it lives in me all the time. And it's why it's good to feel your feelings. Sometimes.
Do you know what? This is part of why I wrote stuff like this, because I thought I can't be the only one.
Oh no, I have a sight sapphire.
You have a sight sapphire as well. Right, let's get a sight sapphire. Right, let's get one.
I'll make one. Oh, you brought actual jewels. This is fabulous.
I bought these jewels. Hang on.
I love it.
What I'm doing is I'm opening the packet of wonderful gems that we have. We're crafting away here.
This is all Lorraine too. Just to be clear, I am not the
Look, I'm going to stick it on here. Look, that's it. It's the first one, the sight sapphire.
Give me a jewel. Can I pick a big one?
Yeah, pick a big one. This one is a big one for me. Look, I'm putting it.
I love it. I love it
because it is a big one. I mean, the fear of losing my sight is a huge thing for me. It's a big deal. It is a really big deal. And it's a very real thing.
Yeah.
It's a very real thing. And I am reminded every time I go to the eye clinic, this is something they're looking out for, which is great. Yeah. It's great that and we know, they know. And it's a very sobering conversation that you have every year, basically.
It's hard having those checkups in your calendar and the anxiety around them. Like I, in all honesty, and this is bad and I need to fix it, I have not had my eyes checked as much as I should. And again, just the thing with this season of the podcast that I find hard is I'm a healthcare provider, but I'm also just like a human trying my gosh darn best. Okay. And it's not easy.
It's not easy.
But the anxiety and trauma around those appointments and like the nerves of just, is it going to be okay or is it not going to be okay? Nothing rattles me more in a lot of ways. So it's hard having those dates in the calendar. I know my mom, when she was going through her health issues, they call it scanxiety for when you get scans, when you have cancer treatment.
Yeah.
There's an eye check anxiety, opticians, anxiety.
There we go. Anxiety.
We've talked about Eileen as well.
Yes, Eileen. I mean, I've called the right eye Eileen.
Yeah.
Well, you named her that.
Come on, Eileen.
Yeah, exactly. Come on.
Gotta keep doing. Keep trucking along.
Exactly. And it is. There is a real anxiety to it all, and it never really goes away because this issue, I can do everything correct, and it's gonna happen because my eyeball is gonna. It's like a rugby ball. It's just gonna stretch and stretch and stretch. That's what it wants to do. There's no exercise I can do. There is no diet that I can. I mean, let's eat healthy. Yes, that's great. But there's nothing really that I can do.
Yeah,
to stop this happening.
There's no specific exercises. I was talking again with another with an expert on here about pregnancy, Dr. Sally Pizarro, and we were talking about like the uterus, and it's hard because there's no. Yes, there are. I know TikTok and Instagram. They're like, oh, do these eye exercises and stuff. Yes, they can help in some ways, but they're not going to like. And again, I don't even know if there's research for that, but I'm all for like exercising things if you can, and I think it's good to look at a distance. Sometimes I try to walk and not look at my phone constantly. Basic things like that, but there's not like a targeted strategy that's evidence-based that we know will work, that will help you to strengthen your eyes. Just like it's not really, as far as I know, possible to strengthen the uterus or train the uterus in pregnancy. There are points where even if you are as lucky as you can be, you can put on muscle mass well. You have, let's say you have all the support and time and money in the world. There are certain things that just are really difficult to deal with, and eyes are one of those things.
Eyes are definitely one of those things. And one thing I did ask when I went to the eye clinic was, what would be the Venn diagram of overlap of people who have high myopia, who potentially could have HSD or hEDS.
Yeah.
And there is no research on this, of course, but likely to be high was the answer. Likely to be high, which is why I always raise awareness about this, because it's relatively common.
Yeah.
in people.
And it's not discussed enough. When
It's
I do a
not
medical
discussed
history, and patients know I do a comprehensive medical history, because often I'm seeing people where they haven't had a medical history done to the standard to which I think it should be done. I am asking them about their ears, eyes, nose, and throat, because dental issues and eye issues are often not discussed in the context of healthcare appointments. And for people such as yourself, or even myself, my eyes were really related to how the rest of my body was functioning or not functioning. Moving on to another aspect of the trauma tiara, shall we say. You talked about kind of body image and feeling about your body, and we were talking about actually, posture and different things. Are you okay to talk about that? Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, I am built. My family sort of background is that both my parents are originally from Chile. My family is originally from Chile. I did a whole, one of those genetic doobie tests.
Yep.
And basically, it's got places like, Brazil, South Portugal, South Spain, south of France, South Italy, all the way sort of Greece, Cyprus, and Iran. Basically, so it's all basically along the equator.
Yeah, that is actually true. Nice.
Yeah, if you look at it, it's all one line. So how I'm in the UK is another trauma story.
I think you're going the wrong direction.
I did. I got lost. I got lost somewhere along the way, but there we go. But basically, I am built like a capybara. And guess what? I am exactly like. I love a warm bath.
I was about to say you are a capybara, but I was worried.
Yeah, no, I am. I am shaped like a capybara. Just a wonderfully cute capybara, basically. But when you grow up in a society, and this includes my nose, actually, I have a very strong profile of nose, and people have commented on my nose many times, and it's all part of the whole body image thing. And when I grew up in the UK, where predominantly everyone is majoritarily very, very slender, and I used to dance a lot, and I was not slender. I was always being corrected because I had a sticking out bottom, or my tummy was sticking out, and my shoulders were slumping the whole time. This leaves an impact on you. And it was constant. It was constant every day at school, every day at home. It was in my dance classes, even in secondary school. I remember year 7, first report with your teacher, my parents were told that she needs to bring her shoulders down. Right, because she's so stressed about everything. Yeah, because my shoulders live up here. That's where they live. That is where they've chosen. Who's to argue with that? And then you hit puberty, and then things develop. And I mean, I'm going through a second puberty at the moment with perimenopause, and I'm still very confused about what the body is doing and how it looks and all this sort of thing. But for me, it was a real challenge growing up and then hitting my early 20s. And I grew up in a time where all of the magazines, all of the media was very much tone, because you needed to be that, super fit look. Yeah,
and not taking up space, I think, as well. Exactly. That whole idea of being as small as possible so you don't take up space, heaven forbid.
Exactly. and I was cute if I was not, if I was a certain size or a certain look, then I would be cute. And it never sat well with me. And I really, really struggled with that image. And during lockdown, one of my lovely dance friends sent me an Instagram of this person who actually paints people naked.
Love it.
I love it, to kind of fall back in love with their body and all this sort of thing. So I signed up for it, and she painted me.
Oh, do you have the painting in your home?
I have the painting
I love
at home.
that.
I don't think she does it anymore, so I can't find her anymore on Instagram. So I think she stopped doing it. But I had to send some pictures of me, and then she painted me, and I got the pictures back, and I was like, wow, we've been on a journey, this body and I. We've been on a real journey. There's been some very unexplained things and symptoms and issues. And I thought, how can I not love that? how could you not love this capybara of yourself, right?
Oh,
I know.
I love that.
I love that. But yeah, that for me was a real trauma for so many decades just growing up, because I couldn't fit into clothes. Clothes weren't the right shape.
Clothing is cut like weirdly here. I do most of my
Weird.
shopping in Canada because stuff here is, I don't know who it's cut for, but it's not cut for me
It's
either most
not
of
cut
the
for
time.
me. Oh, and honestly, I really
Yeah.
really struggle with
It's a
clothing.
strange place.
Yeah. So leggings and baggy tops, perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
love a combo. No, I have to say it's funny how much language affects us because I always wanted to be cute. So I'm one of those, the classic, what people think of, I think, when they think of hEDS or HSD, tall, basically, with kind of some long limbs and whatever. And I desperately wanted to be cute when I was little, and I was kicked out of ballet because I was too tall, because I was messing up the line.
Oh,
I did also,
Alex.
but I also did tell a girl, there's this famous video of me at home on VHS. It's probably deteriorated by now, but there was this little girl who was doing the routine wrong. So I just went up very gently and corrected her because she was like in my space and doing it incorrectly. So maybe there were other reasons why I was kicked out.
This is my dance space. That is your dance
I'm
space.
like, you are in my spot.
Exactly.
Get out. I'm here to perform. But no, when it comes to bodies, I think people don't get how much this affects your experience of your body, just in the sense of being a human and wanting to, not necessarily look a certain way, but it's okay to want to feel like you are attractive, or to want to feel, happy with how you appear. And again, I don't like body positivity because I think sometimes it's too much pressure that everyone has to love their body. Body neutrality, I think, is great if people can just kind of be okay with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a point that's much more reasonable for people to reach. It's like, even you're talking about this book, like you found ways to love your pain. I feel like I've found ways to be kind of like just neutral in a sense, which is a good progress for me.
That is,
there.
it's excellent. It's really excellent.
But going back to the whole body thing, I remember growing up and being like, I have extra skin on me. Like no matter how much I tried to, restrict my eating or do all these types of behaviors which are associated with eating disorders, which again are really common in the hEDS, HSD population. I don't know if there's specific research or studies, but I can say I see it a lot. No matter what I did, I was never toned and tight. I was always floppy and loosey-goosey. So yeah, my tummy would always look soft. I always had extra skin. And I have talked about this before, and I'm just going to say it now. I noticed when I was going through puberty that my breasts were not as high as I thought they should be. I noticed when I was a swimmer in the change room that other girls, they're much more like up, really perky, and mine were not. And when I went on in my studies to learn about ligaments in the breast and connective tissue, I was like, oh, this makes sense. I think they're great. I think my partner's fine with them, but like they're a reflection of my hypermobility, just like the rest of my body is. And going back to the whole nudes thing, like I've taken nudes. I think everyone, a lot of people have. And being able to sometimes see yourself in a safe environment. And again, people need to be careful with like what nudes they're taking, where they're sending it. If you do want to have a painting done, like you did, vet the person, like internet safety, please. Okay. But I think having that opportunity to look at yourself and feel kindness and compassion and to, I don't know, get to the place that this book takes you, I think is really, really important.
Absolutely. And, it's really interesting that you talk about your experiences, because I've just reminded myself that I grew up being made to feel quite ashamed, because I used to get stretch marks. I was probably about 9 years old, and I had loads of stretch marks on my thighs and my bottom area and my hips. And my mum couldn't understand it. Because I wasn't going through puberty yet. Yeah. And that's something that can happen when you go through puberty, but I was getting it at quite a young age. My mum just didn't understand. I didn't understand. And then that's when you start to be made to feel different. You
feel self-conscious for the first time. Like there's this, when you're a really young child, hopefully, there's an age where you don't feel that eye of the other on you. But when you start to get these marks or changes earlier, these stretch marks, it's like, yeah, you feel that gaze on you, I think.
Exactly. And so, now I realize that was part of it. That was part of the hEDS. Yeah. But I didn't know.
And does that knowing help you be more okay? Does it help you? Yeah. I
that
feel like
totally helped me.
this is why one of my favorite phrases you've heard me say it is body literacy. So the idea of being able to kind of understand what's going on in your body and make sense of it. And I think as much as, yes, we need more research, we don't have answers to everything. I think at least understanding from a physiological perspective why certain things might be more common in people with hEDS or HSD is critical, because otherwise we have little kids and teenagers and young people and people in their 30s, 40s and beyond being like, something's going on and it's not like everyone else is, like what's happening here. And it creates that sense of just being, I don't know, there's that sense of unease that you get.
Exactly. And that's why now, I was really self-conscious always about my soft tummy.
Yeah.
Always. It's always been soft, no matter how much I worked out, no matter how much,
no matter how skinny you are.
Nothing. I would have to in order to get that, I would have had to go to a very unhealthy place.
Yeah.
That is dangerous.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
now I'm just like, here is my tummy.
Yeah.
That's me patting the tummy.
And people have extra skin in different places.
Exactly.
Mine is on my ribs and stomach. Some people it's on their neck. Again, that's the classic one. But people can have different skin stretchiness in different regions. Some people it's their chest or the tops of their feet. And I think just awareness and discussion of that is critical, because it does affect how you feel.
Definitely.
Funnily enough about the stretch marks, my mom never really had that many stretch marks, even when pregnant. And I think it's because the extra stretchy rib skin came in handy. Honestly, that's my thought there. Shall we do another stone?
Let's do.
I don't know which one this is. Body positive or not positive? No, we're not body positive. What are we? We are. What is this
neutral.
one? Body neutral. I don't know what stone begins with an
goodness.
N. That's despairing diet. We'll see. We're gonna have a sparkly stone
hang on.
regardless.
Right. Okay. These are some lovely pearl ones.
I'm impressed with that hand strength.
Well,
You've been working.
I have been trying. Right. So these are some nice. I'm going to take 2 shell-like ones.
Yes. Oh, do we get 2?
You can get however many you want. I'm going to
Wow.
these 2. I'm going to put around these ones, but.
I love it. I will do too. We have so much to talk about. There's one more thing I want to talk about if you're okay with it. 2 more things actually. I think there's like an hEDS HSD canon of events that people go through. And in your book, when I saw you doing a DIY bra, I'm like, yes, that is another canon.
I've spent many happy hours doing a bra.
I swear, there's something about like if you are that teenager, again, you start wearing a bra, you have breasts and you get neck pain, a DIY bra, like these people, again, this is not based on research, but I think that they should all be checked for hEDS or HSD.
Again, it's one of those things. I used to love, because we're recording this in London, and I used to live in London, and my Sunday, I would go down to John Lewis to the haberdashery to buy my thick, elastic.
Yeah, the granny bras, which is hard when you're like
with
15.
The extenders.
Yeah.
And I would, spend a happy Sunday sewing, cutting off the little strappy things, sewing that up. Honestly,
I just wanted to fit in like the airy bras or whatever. I remember once when I went to buy a bikini, like a swimsuit top, because I wanted to just be able to wear a bikini like my other friends. They're like, oh no, you don't have your size here. You need to be in a one piece. Like they sent me to like the grandma store in the mall.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and that's
But
trauma.
That's trauma.
Yeah,
right?
that trauma
sits. It sits in
here. Touching on something that's traumatic in all seriousness, I know, and again, thank you for humoring me literally sometimes, because if I don't laugh, truly, you've heard about my struggles recently. We'll touch on my book a little bit later, but like it's been hard times lately. But speaking of actual trauma, you talk in the book very candidly about your experience with miscarriage.
Yes.
Do you mind if we touch on that for a moment?
Yes, that is fine.
Yeah.
That is fine.
Tell me, what was that like for you, and how has that affected you?
I always reflect back on this, because there are moments where I've actually felt the processing of those years much easier than my sight, for example. And I think my feeling is because of the support I had, because a lot of people go through this. I feel people discuss it much more. It's quite an intense experience to have. And I felt a lot of people shared their own experiences, which made me feel more supported in that moment. But it's still a very traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And in my case, we tried 3 times, and each time I miscarried, to the point where I had to take extended leave from work. The first time there were complications, and I had to have surgery, and the first surgery didn't work, so they had to have a second surgery with the consultant. So you go through the different levels of doctors, and I've got to the point where I realised that I'm always getting the
final doctor.
The final doctor has to come into the room, and ooh, okay.
It's always stressful when you realize you're at that point. You're like, oh.
Yeah, you're like, oh, so you need to come and do it. Oh no, okay.
And was that because of the uterine perforation, or?
Yeah. So this was the second of that first operation. So the first time they couldn't do it, so then it had to be the specialist who came to do it. Except that is when, and it's still a very confusing time for them and for me, because at some point in a 15-minute, 20-minute operation, it turned into 3 hours. And I don't know any of this because I'm obviously under general.
I hope you're.
I'm under general. Yeah. But my husband, who was waiting for me, is told it's a 15-20-minute operation, and it turns into 3 hours. And it's not something that happens normally. So again, another weird thing has happened. And yes, basically what happened is during the operation, my uterus perforated in some way. They're not sure how. It meant that they had to call the bowel consultant in. So I had not only the obs-gynae consultant, but I had now a bowel consultant in, because they were worried they had pierced the bowel, which you do not want to pierce a bowel at all. And they had to check every centimetre of my bowels, intestines and all the rest of it. And then I spent 2 nights in hospital. Had drains on me.
So major surgery.
Major surgery. So that was my first experience of being pregnant and finding out I had a miscarriage and then having a major surgery.
Jeez, that is rough.
Yeah.
To say the least. I don't even.
It was a little bit rough. I then subsequently tried again, twice more, and I was offered surgery, and I turned it down. Yeah. Not surprisingly, I turned it down. They said, "Yeah, we're not surprised," and then I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this to my body. I can't do this to my mind. I can't do this to my soul. It was so overwhelming, and then at that point I wasn't diagnosed. I didn't know, and I will never know if it was connected or is connected to the hEDS. I won't know, but I do think about pregnancy and eyesight and pregnancy and other health issues. So you can think of it in so many ways.
Absolutely. I do hope that we will get more research on this. So I was speaking with a pregnancy expert earlier, and hopefully when it comes to things, like miscarriage or stillbirth, right now there doesn't really seem to be, actually based on the research, an increased rate of miscarriage. Again, please double check your own research here. We did do that episode recently, but everything does kind of blur together when my schedule's been a bit overbooked. But it raises some questions, let's put it that way, especially when you have a perforation as well, because that suggests maybe the tissue is not as sturdy as it should be. So again, this is not research based at all. This is not evidence based. This is just my personal speculation. But I'm very curious to see what future research will show us about this type of event that you've gone through.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot, and you have to recover from those surgeries, and then your tissue has to heal as well on the inside. You have to heal in some ways, like emotionally, psychologically, and so on. And it is a constant journey. One thing I do want to touch on too before we wrap up is we talked about, I know we started out quite happy and positive. We've really gone a decline. You just have to bring it up at the end. This question isn't going to help that. But when you realized you had never really had zero pain ever, and by zero pain, I mean that state of having like no pain constant, like at all. When did that realization occur for you?
I think it occurred sort of midway through the book. as I was writing it.
Books are journeys too. You
Books
learn when you
are,
write a
yeah.
book, you grow as an author, which is hard
Definitely.
sometimes.
It's a process. It is a process. And even I went to the GP a few weeks ago because I have continual pain in the soles of my feet and my palms of my hand. Always, they feel like they throb, and I'm on a journey to find out if that has a label, can be labeled. Can you do anything? Who knows? But the GP said to me that they said, Lorraine, I don't feel that pain. I do not have pain in my feet or in my hands. And as much as I go through this journey about trying to understand pain and, my own pain and what are the triggers and what aren't the triggers, I still come across these occasions when a medical professional will say, no, you are not supposed to, that's not supposed to be painful. Yeah. And this really hits me. And it's the same when I was writing the book, where that's when I realized there are people who do not feel what I feel constantly, day after day, night after night, I used to have a lot of nightmares at night. And I've realized I've kind of, talked this over with a few medical professionals, including the GP, a few weeks ago, where I realized the nightmares I was getting were really my body saying, or my mind saying, wake up, move position, because you're in pain, you're pulling something.
I'm so intrigued by that because I had recurring nightmares as a child, and I sleep super deeply, and my neck pain would get so much worse when I slept deeply and didn't move, and I would force myself to wake up because I was scared, so I'd make myself scream in the nightmare, but that would rouse me enough to change body position. Lorraine, you've blown my mind.
This is seriously. Yeah. So this has been real big moment for me, because I would have horrendous nightmares. Yeah. There was one particular, and you've actually treated this particular point, this point in the back of my shoulder blade, and I would have horrific nightmares of being attacked, and people really hurting me, and me screaming and not being like paralysis, and not being able to scream, and not be able to wake up. And ever since I've started propping myself up with pillows, ever since I started paying attention to that, I don't have those scary nightmares. I start the nightmare, and then I go, and then I go, okay, I have to shift, I have to move, I have to do something. That's when I realized my brain is telling me all those years I wasn't listening.
You've blown my mind. Honestly, I don't know if I'm ever going to have a child, but if I did, given how bad my recurring nightmares affected I was waking up terrified when I did, because they're really scary.
And that's not good for you as well, because your adrenaline is then running, and then you can't sleep for 2 or 3 hours, if at all, and then you've got to do a full day at school.
And you get nervous the next night because you know what's going to happen again.
Yes, so then you sleep, you try and delay the sleep, and then it just goes worse and worse and worse.
But if I was a parent with a child who I thought was hypermobile, I would be checking that they have lots of pillows, because I wanted more pillows, but I wasn't allowed to have them. They're like, one is enough.
So I slept with 2 teddy bears.
Yep, and this is why everyone keeps their teddy bears.
I still sleep with teddy bears, pillows, teddy bears, cushions, blankets, and I realised it was because I was propping my shoulders up. Yeah, but I didn't know that when I was 5 years old.
Lorraine, it's hard to be a 5-year-old who knows everything. I think it's a tall order. Look, Lorraine, thank you so much for being here with me today. Where can people get your book if they want a copy? I actually do recommend it. I know I started out by saying I hate it. I actually love it, but it's it's a metaphor for my personal journey with my pain. I don't like it very much, but I'm coming to, I'm starting to be okay with it.
Exactly. It's a journey. It's a journey, and it is a difficult journey. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. It is a difficult journey, which is why people don't often want to encounter it. But the Surrender Agenda, which is my witty and honest journey of trying to learn and accept and love my pain, is available online at Amazon. You can find it there. It's available not only in print copy, but on audio, so you can listen to it.
And I didn't get to talk about this either. We need 10 hours to have you on the show.
We do.
But you're a voice actor.
Yeah.
So it is I'm sure the audiobook is exceptional. I've not heard the audiobook. I will one day. And I have no doubt that the audiobook is really going to be just epic sound quality.
Thank you. Thank
Just
you.
I trust you on that. No, and Lorraine, thank you for supporting me. You know, partly why I wanted to do the season is to, you know, really reconnect with some people in the lead up to my book coming out. And it has been a struggle. And we had that chat before recording where I told you, you're like, how are you? You know, not in that way, but you're like, you know, we're catching up with each other. And I'm just like, Lorraine, things are not good. Like, you know, when you saw me years ago, that was the high point. It has been downhill since then. So no, thank you for getting it. I think the community of people who self-publish books, I think we are a very special group. And if you're someone listening to this and you have self-published a book, well, congratulations. You're an incredible human.
Yes, well done.
Well done you for
Well
coming
done.
out of it, hopefully
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
If you're someone who hasn't, don't. No, just kidding. Connect with people who've been through the journey. So if people have questions, you can contact me. Don't do it till after my book is out in January. It's called Help, I'm Hypermobile, your how-to guide to hEDS, HSD, and life in a hypermobile body. If people DM'd you and they had a question, I'm sure maybe.
Yeah,
It's like, maybe
absolutely.
Lorraine might reply.
Absolutely. You can find me on Instagram.
Yeah.
I am there.
Find people there, but connect with people who've been through this because, you know, we were talking about the growth you get from doing this and how you're no longer even the same person who wrote this book. Geez, I'm getting way too excited. I'm bumping into things. And for you, you were telling me this has just been transformative in your journey.
It has. It has really been a big transformation.
Books. Changing the world one page at a time. Lorraine, thank you again. And to everyone listening and watching this, I will see you next time. Take care.
Thank you.